Miles has to take up that mantle and he has to become Spider-Man. Hey everyone, welcome back to Rupees Over Ramen, the show where we talk about animation, creativity, the creative process, and tons of other nerdy stuff. So it's been a while since we've had an episode, but wanted to get back into it. Today we're going to be talking about Into the Spiderverse, the bad guys in Mitchell's versus the Machines, and basically the ideas that they imbued into animation that weren't there before. And something that I think is really crucial with this was adapting to a new audience, especially with Spider-Man. Spider-Man has been someone that has existed for so long, like years and years and years, through different age groups and like different people. People that grew up with Spider-Man are now growing up, and then they have little kids now growing up with Spider-Man. So they wanted to try something different to adapt to a new audience. And it kind of all started with the idea of making the animation look like a comic book panel with half-toning and line hatching and making sure that there was no motion blur. And with that idea of looking like a comic panel, they were able to accomplish something super amazing where you can pause the movie at any time and it looks beautiful. It looks like a comic panel. It just looks amazing, really. And they use this idea of 3D with hand-drawn elements. So they'd animate the characters in 3D and then hand-draw emotions, like things on the cheeks, on the eyes, things like dimples, stuff like that. And it was able to have this new look. And they're able to draw these 2D effects that Arcane has also used a little bit of that I just think look amazing. They're just beautiful. So along with that, with Into the Spider-Verse and adapting to the new audience, with this form of animation, they wanted to focus on the idea of emotion in the animation so that as they animate things, it's not like that old school Pixar 3D plasticky look. It's almost like it's hand-drawn where things snap, where things have that squash and stretch, where you have anticipation with movements. And with that, they were able to accomplish something super cool. You've probably heard about it, but with Miles and then Peter B. Parker, Miles was animated differently than Peter B. Parker for the part that they're swinging. And then their animation lines up. It's on the same count, basically. And with that, you're able to see Miles improving and literally see through the animation this character arc. That's just chef's kiss. That's great. So with doing this, though, you're like, okay, yeah, how are we supposed to make this look good? Because animation has been done with motion blur that kind of hides a lot of the things. There's a lot of things with atmospheric perspective and stuff like that. So one of the things was smear frames. So a smear frame is basically when you want to have something, a motion, like a hand waving, look really quick. So you would draw the hand and then you draw the hand basically smearing. And you don't see that because it's moving so fast. And then you draw the hand here. So it's just like this super quick motion. And with that smear frame, you can pause it and see those smear frames, and it's pretty cool. And then another thing is multiples. Multiples are really weird when you pause and then you see it because it's literally like multiple arms also accomplishing the same type of thing. So you can basically mimic that idea of speed, and it worked really well. And then also with speed lines, which you've seen in anime where someone's like, ah, and you see the lines behind them and it's just like, oh snap, this is gonna be crazy. And that's what they did with Into the Spider-Verse. They also did that with the bad guys and Mitchell's versus the Machines. So along with that, going on to the Mitchell's versus the Machines, talking about that a little bit, there's some articles about this, and one of the things that they wanted to focus on was this idea of handmade versus computer made. So like all of the little drawings and stuff that are there that Katie Mitchell draws, they all look handmade. They look like little stickers, little pieces of paper, so that it can stick out, that it's not just like these computer graphics. It's like someone literally went and drew on the screen of the movie like after the screening. They're like, okay, we got to add in this, and they just did it. So I think it turned out beautiful. There's some really funny parts in that movie. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's super awesome. And this idea, this animation style, I don't know if anyone's really given it a name yet, but it's kind of along the lines of that 2.5 dimensional like thing, kind of like Treasure Planet and stuff, where you're trying different things, you're molding and mashing up two different styles. And I think it's my favorite animation when people do that. They take different styles and stuff. It's pretty cool. So we're talking about the characters and the story. They wanted to take Spider-Man, the idea of Spider-Man, and bring that home. And at its core, Spider-Man is that friendly neighborhood superhero. He's not like with Marvel and stuff, they've put him fighting against these crazy otherworldly beings, but really it's him fighting against these people that he knows that have been polluted by society or polluted by gamma rays or radioactive waste, whatever, and having to put this teenage character up against that. And I think it was really cool to have Miles Morales. They like redeemed his character because some people didn't really like Miles in the comics and stuff, but he is beautiful in that movie. No one can tell me otherwise. And they take Peter B. Parker and have him as a mentor for Miles so that Miles can learn and grow. And you can see Spider-Man kind of like the mantle passing because the Spider-Man of Miles' world dies. Sorry, spoiler alert. So he dies and Miles has to take up that mantle and he has to become Spider-Man. Even though it's this scary thing for him and he kind of has this responsibility thrust upon him. And I think it's really cool how they kind of had that counterpart to Uncle Ben. I think that's really cool with Spider-Man. Even like Tom Holland Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield, how they've had different figures. For Andrew Garfield, it was his father. For Tom Holland, it was Iron Man. You don't really hear anything about his father or his uncle if he had an uncle. So it takes these different ideas and puts it in a different way so everyone can look at it. And like as the movie ends, you can wear the mask. Anyone can wear the mask. Anyone can take upon that mantle. Anyone can make a difference. And I think that's a huge message that is sent forth and that is beautiful and amazing. So with that also with bringing Spider-Man home, I think it's funny how all the Tom Holland Spider-Mans all have the word home. I didn't mean that joke. But Spider-Man came from comics and that's where he started. He was later in animated shows and live action shows, but he came from comics. So bringing it back to that comic style of even having these moments where it kind of flashes and it's literally like comic, that style of like that halftone dot and stuff. It's beautiful. And with this idea, they built around the character of Miles Morales. And that's something that we're going to be focusing on today is building around your main character. Because when you build around your main character and build the world around them, not like everything revolves around them, but you take them in their experience and it changes how the world looks. It changes how you perceive the world as an audience member. The bad guys did this super well, and so did Mitchell's versus the Machines. So with the bad guys, you have Mr. Wolf and then all of his other animal buddies, and it's pretty obvious that it was based off, like at least inspired by Lupin the Third, which was by Hayao Miyazaki before he started working for Studio Ghibli. And it's so beautiful how they did it that they were able to, again, adapt to a new audience. Lupin is an old thing. They've kind of tried to reboot it, but it didn't do like amazingly well. And then doing this, being like, okay, this is our audience. People like this. And then you put that forth with bad guys, using those like Lupin movements and kind of mannerisms and stuff, but you put that into another character and send that off, and that can reach a different audience, and that was huge. And then with Mitchell's versus the Machines, which is an awesome movie, it's pretty cool because the design and stuff, like the logo, I had a professor in college that worked on that logo. I think that was a really cool thing. That style, that like sketchy kind of hand-drawn, just scribbled all over the place, kind of stickers, paper craft, handmade, that style is throughout the show. Like they could have had just a 3D animation of these people going around saving the world, and it could have been good. Like they've done that so many times with different things. But they didn't. They took Katie Mitchell's perspective and they made it all about her. Like that animation style that she did, the drawing style, she has that throughout. There's little drawings, little references to things that they did as a family, and you can just relate to it. Their family is so weird, but like everyone's family is so weird when you think about it. When you're actually in the family, you're like, my family is so weird. And it's just beautiful. I love how they were able to do that. And then with the music and sound design for all three of those movies, it was just like amazing. It was awesome because like with Into the Spiderverse, it's just beautiful. And the other ones as well. Something I really like with Into the Spiderverse with the style is they went above and beyond. Like other things, Arcane and stuff that followed after, they kind of just did that same type of thing. They added some new things too. But Into the Spider-Verse did like the normal style, like Spider-Man in that style, and then also did like anime with a character, and then kind of that black and white like noir vibe, and it's beautiful. Like it just all works together so well. It's amazing. But yeah, I love Spider-Man, so if you ever want to talk about Spider-Man, just let me know. That's where we're going to finish up for now. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. See you guys next time. Peace.